Right now, Liverpool Football Club is in the middle of one of the most complex and consequential summers in recent memory, and I am not saying that for dramatic effect. The evidence is right in front of us. Andoni Iraola has taken the reins at Anfield. Arne Slot is gone. And in the space of just a few weeks, the transfer landscape around this club has exploded in every direction at once. Players are leaving, players want to stay, players who already left want to come back. New targets are emerging and disappearing in the same breath. And all of this is happening while a significant number of Liverpool's first team squad are away at the World Cup 2026. The situation is chaotic on the surface. But when you slow it down and look at each piece carefully, a picture starts to emerge, and that picture tells you a lot about the direction Liverpool are trying to go under their new manager. So let us slow it down. Let us go through every single piece of this story, one by one, and I will give you my honest assessment of what it all means for this football club. Before we go any further, I want to make something very clear. What happens at Liverpool this summer is not just about transfer business. It is about identity. It is about whether Andoni Iraola walks into pre-season with a squad that reflects his ideas, or whether he inherits a group of players that do not fit his system. If the wrong decisions are made, Liverpool could start the new season with too many players in positions that do not suit the manager, not enough quality in the areas he needs most, and a dressing room where uncertainty is already poisoning the atmosphere. The signs of that risk are already visible, and on the flip side, if Liverpool get this right, they could be building towards something genuinely exciting. A young, dynamic squad with the right balance of experience and emerging talent. That is the opportunity in front of this club right now. If you want this level of breakdown on every major Liverpool story this summer, hit that subscribe button right now. Victor Liverpool Analyst is where you come for the full picture, not the headlines. Let us get into it. Darwin Nunez, the return rumour that will not die. The situation with Darwin Nunez is one of the more fascinating subplots of this summer. And I want to be very precise here because there are two separate pieces of information pulling in opposite directions. On one hand, there is reporting from a Uruguayan outlet called Carva Deportiva, suggesting that Nunez, who is currently at Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia and on World Cup duty with Uruguay, could return to Anfield as early as this summer. The outlet claims sources closer to his Uruguay camp suggest he could get another opportunity to prove himself in the Premier League. The detail worth noting here is context. Nunez scored 5 goals in his last 5 Liverpool games before leaving the club, including pre-season appearances. That is a fact, and it is the kind of form that naturally fuels reunion speculation. When a player leaves on the back of that kind of run, questions will always follow, but here is where the analysis gets important. Fabrizio Romano, one of the most reliable voices in European football transfers, has directly responded to these reports, and his assessment is clear. Sources close to the striker are playing down any talk of a return to Liverpool this summer. So what do we have here? We have a rumour, originating from a South American outlet, that has been specifically cooled down by sources connected to the player himself. That is significant. When people close to a player are actively distancing themselves from a story, it usually means the story does not reflect reality. My assessment: the Nunez return story is currently a rumour only. It has not been confirmed. It has been contradicted by credible sources. Liverpool supporters should treat it as speculation until something more concrete emerges. Curtis Jones and the Inter Milan domino. This one is genuinely interesting from a tactical standpoint, and here is why. The situation is that Inter Milan have interest in Curtis Jones. That much has been circulating for a while, but what has now emerged is a potential domino effect that could accelerate everything. According to reporting from Tuttosport, Inter Milan are expected to allow their midfielder Davide Fratesi to leave the club this summer and complete a move to Nottingham Forest, a switch that was apparently already being discussed back in January. The key detail here is what happens next. If Fratesi leaves, Inter Milan would have funds available, and the indication is that those funds could be directed towards signing Jones from Anfield. Now, separately, there is also reporting that Liverpool are prepared to sell both Alexis Mac Allister and Curtis Jones as part of a plan to fund a move for Crystal Palace midfielder Adam Wharton. Mac Allister is attracting interest from Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. Jones, according to that same report, is described as being close to joining Inter Milan. Let me be very clear. These are reported claims. They have not been officially confirmed by any club, but when multiple outlets are pointing in the same direction, the pattern becomes worth analysing. If Curtis Jones does leave for Inter Milan, Liverpool lose a versatile and technically gifted midfielder who came through their own academy. But the question Andoni Iraola needs to answer is whether Jones fits his system, And if the club has already made a decision that he does not, then the priority becomes finding the right replacement. Adam Wharton, at 22 years old, valued by Crystal Palace at £100 million, is described as a key target for Iraola. That valuation is steep, which is exactly why Liverpool would need to generate serious funds from outgoing sales to even get the conversation started. The logic of the domino is clear. Sell Jones and Mac Allister. Generate funds. Move for Wharton. But whether all the pieces fall into place in that sequence is another matter entirely. Alexis Mac Allister, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Liverpool's dilemma. The situation regarding Mac Allister deserves its own focus because of what his potential exit would mean for this squad. Mac Allister arrived at Liverpool as one of the club's most important midfield signings in years. He brought composure, range of passing, and an ability to control the tempo of matches. Losing him would leave a significant gap, but the reality is that if Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid are genuinely interested, Liverpool may be in a position where keeping him becomes very difficult. Elite players are drawn to elite clubs, and when two of the biggest clubs in the world come calling, the dynamics of any negotiation shift immediately. What Liverpool must avoid is a scenario where they sell Mac Allister, fail to sign Wharton, and begin the season with a midfield that has been hollowed out. That would be a serious problem for Iraola before he has even had a full pre-season with his squad. Yan Diomande, the transfer story being told in real time. The Yan Diomande situation is one of the most transparent transfer stories I have seen in a long time, and that transparency is actually quite revealing. Here is what is confirmed. Diomande is currently an RB Leipzig player. He is at the World Cup with Ivory Coast. When asked directly about a potential move to the Premier League, his response was measured. He acknowledged he is an RB Leipzig player but did not close the door entirely. He said his agents handle those matters and that his focus right now is the World Cup. Then there is the Ivory Coast manager, Immerse Faye, who gave a very candid account of how the transfer noise around Diomande has evolved. During their preparation camp in France, journalists told him Diomande was about to sign for Paris Saint-Germain. Then, at the World Cup itself, those same journalists are now saying he is about to sign for Liverpool. Faye's response is telling. He did not confirm anything. He simply said the player will focus on the World Cup first and then consider his future afterwards. Now, separately, the Ivory Coast boss has also been quoted elsewhere saying that he was told Diomande is signing for Liverpool, using very direct language. The noise around this one is building. My analysis here is straightforward. When a player's international manager is publicly commenting on transfer reports, when the player himself is being asked about it at a World Cup press conference, and when multiple outlets are pointing toward the same destination, this is not a quiet background situation. Something is developing here, even if nothing is confirmed yet. Liverpool's interest appears genuine. The timing, with the World Cup ongoing, simply means that formal discussions are likely to wait until the players' tournament is over. Federico Chiesa, a man with something to prove. This is a story that often gets lost in the noise of big money transfers, but it matters. Federico Chiesa is at Liverpool. He was marginalised under Arne Slot. That much is clear from what has been reported. But with Slot now gone and Andoni Iraola coming in, the situation is described as one where Chiesa is ready to fight for his future at the club. The key phrase here is fight for his future. That tells you something. It tells you that Chiesa does not see his Liverpool chapter as finished. He wants to show the new manager what he can do. Whether Iraola gives him that opportunity is something only pre-season will reveal. But the attitude described here is exactly what a manager wants to see from a player whose previous opportunities were limited. Coming in with hunger and determination to prove a point is the right approach. Chiesa is a quality footballer. The question has always been his fitness and consistency. If he can stay fit and impress Iraola in pre-season, he could genuinely be a useful weapon for Liverpool next season. That is not a prediction. It is simply what the facts support. Ayyoub Bouaddi. Liverpool's long-term scouting investment. The situation here adds an interesting dimension to Liverpool's recruitment strategy. Liverpool have been tracking Ayyoub Bouaddi of Lille for some time. They scouted him extensively, including during their Champions League meetings with Lille last season. That level of scouting investment tells you this is not casual interest. This is a club that has done serious homework on a player they believe has genuine quality. The complication is Lille's valuation of £50 million. That figure has prompted multiple clubs, not just Liverpool, to assess whether the investment is feasible given their other priorities. Talks are expected to develop over the coming month. This is a story to watch. If Liverpool are genuinely in the market for midfield quality, and if Bouaddi fits the profile Iraola is looking for, £50 million may ultimately be deemed a worthwhile investment. But with multiple targets in play and funds needing to be generated from sales, timing will be everything. Cody Gakpo and Bayern Munich, a hierarchy problem. This story is uncomfortable for Liverpool, but important to discuss honestly. Bayern Munich have maintained interest in Liverpool forward Cody Gakpo. The reason cited is significant. Gakpo is reportedly unhappy with the prospect of falling behind Rion Ngumoha in Liverpool's squad hierarchy. Let that land for a moment. A 17-year-old has risen so quickly and so dramatically that an established international forward is now concerned about his own position in the pecking order. That is both a testament to Ngumoha's exceptional rise and a genuine management challenge for Andoni Iraola. If Gakpo is genuinely unsettled and Bayern Munich are circling, Liverpool face a decision. Do they fight to keep him and risk having an unhappy player, or do they explore what kind of fee Bayern would be willing to pay and use those funds elsewhere? The situation is still developing. Nothing has been confirmed, but the fact that Gakpo's discomfort is being reported at all suggests this is a real issue inside the dressing room that the new manager will need to address early. Jeremie Frimpong, the player who must rebuild everything. The situation with Jeremie Frimpong is one of the most compelling personal stories at Liverpool this summer, and I think it deserves serious attention. Frimpong arrived at Liverpool from Bayer Leverkusen, where he had been outstanding under Xabi Alonso in their historic Bundesliga title-winning campaign. The expectation was high. The reality was brutal. In his debut season at Liverpool, Frimpong spent 127 days injured. That is nearly double the 65 days he had been injured across his entire career before joining the club, according to data from Transfermarkt. His debut saw him suffer a muscle setback. A second problem in October kept him out until shortly before Christmas. Then another injury after just 4 minutes of a Champions League match against Qarabag ended his involvement again. When he was fit, he was often asked to play out of position. The combination of injuries, positional uncertainty, and a difficult team environment under Arne Slot meant he never had the opportunity to show what he is genuinely capable of. The consequence of that difficult year was severe. Ronald Koeman left him out of the Netherlands World Cup squad entirely, despite Liverpool colleagues Ryan Gravenberch and Virgil van Dijk both making the squad. Cody Gakpo also featured. Dutch legend Jaap Stam has spoken about Frimpong's situation with both honesty and encouragement. The intensity of the Premier League, combined with the pressure of joining a club the size of Liverpool, makes adaptation harder than people expect. Stam believes Frimpong has the quality to deliver, but he also acknowledges the player needs to make improvements defensively and improve his reading of the game. Former Liverpool right-back Glenn Johnson was more direct in his assessment. He questioned whether Frimpong is truly a right-back or a right-winger, noting that despite his pace and technical ability, he has not consistently beaten opponents in the way you would expect from a player with his attributes. The general theory is that Andoni Iraola's more aggressive and high-energy style could suit Frimpong better. A system that presses high and uses full-backs with pace and intensity in transition is exactly the kind of environment where Frimpong thrived at Leverkusen. But that theory needs to be tested. And pre-season, where Frimpong will be one of the senior players available given his World Cup absence, is where that test begins. My analysis is this: Frimpong has everything to prove. Missing the World Cup should sting. And sometimes that sting is exactly what a talented player needs to rediscover their best level. The opportunity is in front of him. Whether he takes it is the central question of his Liverpool career. Rion Ngumoha, Liverpool's contract priority, and the Bayern Munich situation. I have saved this one for last because it is the most layered story of everything we have covered today, and it is the one that I think reveals the most about where Liverpool are heading. The situation is this: Rion Ngumoha is 17 years old. He left Chelsea in 2024 to join Liverpool. Within a year, he had travelled on pre-season tour to Japan, scored against Yokohama, scored against Athletic in a behind-closed-doors match, scored in a Premier League debut at St James's Park in the 100th minute to win the game against Newcastle United, and penned his first senior contract at the club. Then this season, he ended the campaign starting on the left side of attack under Arne Slot, and then, on the eve of the World Cup 2026, he was called into the England squad. He became one of England's youngest ever debutants at 17 years and 281 days. He won the Player of the Match award on debut against New Zealand. Think about what that means. In the space of roughly 12 months, this player has gone from academy football to full England international. That kind of progression is almost unheard of. Now Bayern Munich have entered the picture. Interest from the German club has become public knowledge, though no formal contact had been made as of last week. And Liverpool's response has been immediate and unambiguous. They have no intention of selling. But here is the deeper layer of this story. When Ngumoha signed his first professional contract last September, he was a promising teenager taking his first steps in senior football. The situation now is fundamentally different. He is an England international. He is being targeted by one of the biggest clubs in European football. His market value has risen dramatically. And Liverpool's current contract may no longer reflect that reality. The evidence suggests that Liverpool are now recognizing the need to offer Ngumoha a new deal. One that properly reflects his status as an England star and a central part of the club's long-term plan under Andoni Iraola. The previous contract was signed when he was still proving himself. Everything he has done since then demands a conversation about appropriate reward. This is not just about money. It is about sending a clear message to the player, to his representatives, and to clubs like Bayern Munich that Liverpool view Ngumoha as untouchable. A new contract at significantly improved terms would reinforce that message louder than any public statement. There is also an interesting dynamic at play here. Bayern Munich's interest becoming public knowledge actually strengthens Liverpool's negotiating position with Ngumoha's camp in one sense. It confirms the player's standing in the market. And when a player knows they have options, the club that wants to keep them must act decisively. Liverpool have that chance right now. The question is whether they move quickly enough. What we are witnessing at Liverpool this summer is a club in genuine transition. A new manager, a reshaped coaching staff, a squad that needs significant restructuring, and a group of young players whose rise is changing the dynamics of everything else around them. The Darwin Nunez return remains a rumour, contradicted by credible sources. The Curtis Jones exit to Inter Milan appears to be building toward completion. The Mac Allister situation is fluid and depends on what Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid do next. Yan Diomande's move appears to be developing behind the scenes, with confirmation likely after the World Cup. Matheus Fernandes is off the table at £80 million. Ayyoub Bouaddi is being tracked, with discussions expected soon. Cody Gakpo's future is uncertain. Frimpong has a summer to rebuild his reputation, and Rion Ngumoha is the name that every department at Liverpool must now rally around and protect. This is a summer where Liverpool cannot afford to be slow. Decisions need to be made, contracts need to be signed, transfers need to be completed. And Andoni Iraola needs to walk into his first pre-season with clarity about who is staying and who is going. The evidence so far suggests the club understands the urgency. But transfer windows are long, and in football, things can change in a single afternoon. Stay locked in to Victor Liverpool Analyst. Every development, every update, every piece of analysis. That is what we are here for.